healthy boundaries is a necessity when you are building a relationship. Now, it's taken me a while to really understand what healthy boundaries really are. And it really was a process in getting into the actual dating world as an adult. Before, I never really entered that stage in life because I ended up getting in a relationship when I was 19, ended up moving in with him, eventually getting married to that guy, been married pretty much my whole adulthood until my divorce, and then having to rediscover like the dating scene and how to interact with guys in a more like intimate, way, and really discovering where I was lacking boundaries. And a lot of that really became like where I noticed that there was certain things in the context of that beginning stages of talking, or even like the first date or the first few dates that kept coming up, and I would say like my intuition or as triggers. And I was just like, why does this keep coming up? Why do I keep feeling this way when they talk about this, or when they insinuate this, or when they say this, or when they don't do anything at all? And I'm just like, well, it's because I was not clear at exactly like what made me comfortable about the connection and what didn't. And that's where I realized boundaries is a necessity. So say for example, I went out with this guy, right? And he would kind of like talk casually. I notice a lot of guys do this actually, where, I'm very like, I would say a good listener, and I just don't like interrupt them or cut them off or anything. And they get into this like flow of talk, and they would say like, I don't want to say the rudest things about other women, because usually that wouldn't come into the type of dynamics I was attracting, thank God. Maybe earlier in my adulthood, in my teenage years, yes, there's some clear ones that I can think of. But, at one point I wasn't attracting at least those kind of conversations, but more so the conversations where they would talk about women in more of a sexualized way. And it was always like my friend or my friend's wife or this lady that I know that works here. And they would like kind of insinuate like sexual things around them. They were like, they do this, they do that, they do this one thing. And kind of, I think, like testing the waters on how I would react or how I'd feel about a certain subject. But for me, I collect data mentally, and I'm just like, okay, I don't know why they brought that up, and I'm just like, I'm not comfortable with it. I'm not going to engage with them if, anymore because of, something that made me feel uncomfortable. And a lot of times, I realize I need to bring up this, like, hey, this is my standard. I don't think women, should be doing that, especially if they're married. I don't think like guys should have friendships with women if they're gonna, basically like lead them on, or, make them feel like, they're trying to like chase after them or something, like the women are trying to chase after for validation. And a lot of that was just kind of, I think I was still kind of discovering like what type of relationships I was actually attracting and how to stop attracting that. And now I'm just like, well, it's boundaries. I just need clearer boundaries earlier. Like if a guy shows up late, like why am I even talking to them again? If they, say something about a dynamic where another woman they knew or another thing that they saw or whatever, that I wasn't that person and I wasn't going to put up with that, and that I didn't want to even talk about that because it's not a subject that I want to talk about, that I'm not even interested in. I've had guys like talk about like things in like sports or things in like the news, and it just was a total turnoff. Like I wasn't even interested in that topic. And after a while I realized that I could just walk away. Like just be like, you know what, that's great, I'm glad you guys like talking about like drug dealing and like, and I don't mean like drug dealing like, okay, that is what they're into, but more so because it was on the news and they're just like, oh, did you know this epidemic? Oh yeah, so and so whatever knew a cousin, brother, whatever that did. And I'm just like totally not interested in the subject, so I'm just gonna see my way out now. And so I think it's really good to identify those like triggers or those little nudges that we get, and just really be like, this isn't the type of relationship I want. This isn't the type of like conversations I want to have with this person ever moving forward. So I'm just gonna like peacefully just like end it and literally just be upfront with it. Be like, you know what, had a great time, but we don't connect in a certain way that makes me feel comfortable, seen, appreciated. And that's a whole other thing entirely. But we just don't have the same type of values when it comes to the things that we talk about.